Let's do it. The energy is high tonight. I love it. Are y'all having fun so far? Yes, I love it. I love it. Well, we are super excited to have everybody here with us tonight, and like you said, we're gonna share some stories, and hopefully they're gonna hit you right in the feels. So, Kirsten, I want to start with you. You actually went through the foster care system. So, can you tell us a little bit about your journey and how that shaped your life?
Yeah, so I experienced the foster care system as an older youth. I was adopted when I was 5, and it just didn't work out well, and so I entered into the foster care system when I was 15, and I was in a lot of different placements, so I had multiple different experiences with foster homes and, group homes and things like that. But just like overall, my experience being a foster youth, it gave me the passions that I have today. And so what I mean by that is I'm currently a senior pursuing my bachelor's in social work. And I don't necessarily, aspire to be a case worker necessarily, but just to work closely with young people in the system. And so, excuse me, sorry. It wasn't an easy experience, being a foster youth, but like I said, it built a lot of resilience in me, and it made me, want to do what I do now. So
yeah, you mentioned you're actually an advocate.
Yeah, I'm a youth advocate. I'm on the Texas Emerging Leaders Board with T-Noise, this Texas Network of Youth Services, and so I use my experience to try to help, encourage people that work with youth in the foster care system to, hear us as young people and not just another number, and hear our story and hear our dreams and things like that. So yeah.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing. Can we give her a round of applause? That's fantastic. That's amazing. So we were also talking a little bit earlier about some of those relationships that you had that really kind of shaped all of that, and it ended better.
Yeah, it did. Overall, honestly, there was a lot of different adults. Teachers were a big one for me. Just the support that they provided me through my career, as like school journey and whatnot. But like just the support and encouragement that they gave me, being able to, talk to them and whatnot. But another really big relationship for me was my very last set of foster, parents. I don't consider them parents because I was 17 when I came into their home, and they were 26 and 27. So they were more just like big brother, big sister, and it was like the best experience for me, honestly. And they were like very, very supportive. They did not push me into the church, but they were Christian, and they, showed me into what the church is, and, wrapped me in their love, and, guided me towards, being who I am today, the Christian that I am today. Yeah.
That's quite a journey. That is amazing. Now, speaking of journeys, Amy, I want to go to you. Tell us a little bit about CASA, because you're a CASA volunteer. So tell us a little bit about what you do and what led you to do that.
Okay. We have 3 girls, and I've always loved working with kids and serving in any way I can, volunteering or whatever. And if I remember correctly, I saw a bunch of opportunities pop up online about training, and I had a friend at the time who was a volunteer, and I don't remember who called who, but we had a conversation about it, and she encouraged me to go ahead with the training and thought there was one coming up, which there was. And so, I went through the training. I immediately felt like it was a good fit for me to advocate and serve in that role, and so I went ahead and started with that, and I loved it. I've loved it ever since, and it's something I've just grown to have a passion for.
Wow. So for those who may not know, it's court-appointed special advocate is what
Yes.
CASA stands for. So tell us a little bit about the types of things that you do as a volunteer.
Oh, gosh. Okay, well, I love CASA because I do feel like it provides a really unique role in a child's story and in their case. A CASA advocate advocates for their best interest in court. But what that entails is lots of relationships, lots of investigation, lots of even mentoring. It can look very different for each case and for each CASA volunteer, but I mean, I think it's so unique and so individualized because you get to be involved in their education. You get to be involved in doctor's appointments if you need to, or if it's an older teen, you can have a conversation about what are you feeling? What do you want from this? If it's a younger child, of course, that's different. I've worked with babies all the way up to 18, so it's all very, very different and unique, and you're constantly learning, but you have a great opportunity to serve them in a capacity that I think is very unique to CASA because of the low caseload. You work with, I would say most CASA volunteers carry 1 to maybe 4 cases at a time. So it just provides a great opportunity for you to bond with them and the families and kind of walk with them through hopefully the end of their case. It could be a year, it could be a couple of years, it could be shorter. Everything looks different for each case, but.
Wow, so I'm sure that kind of changed your perspective on how you see, everything in the community.
Yes. I had no idea. This was an arena that was completely new to me, and I just was overwhelmed with the need and have just really grown to understand that we have a community that is prepped and ready to serve these kids, and there's a lot of really positive new changes that are going on constantly that I think are going to wrap around these kids in a really positive way, but we have to have homes. Before we can even implement the services that are there, the people that are willing to help. There's a lot of that, and there's a lot of positive change, but we need homes. These kids need a safe place to be. They need people who love them and are going to wrap around them. And so that being said, the faith community is another positive aspect that can be there for them. So we hope to grow in that aspect as well.
Wow, most definitely. Now, Ivonne, going to you now. So you have seen that need firsthand. Through being a caseworker and now an adoptive mom. So kind of walk us through that journey for you.
Yes, I was just joking, and I said it feels like the Twilight Zone because I'm in a very different space walking into this room, but I did case management. I would license home. I worked in that for a little over a decade, and I loved it. I was privileged in the fact that I was single, no kids, so I had the flexibility to respond to crisis or just to be available for families when they needed me, and I enjoyed being able to problem solve with them. And we would have kids for short periods of time, sometimes one night, sometimes for years. And so I was able to see success stories and heartbreaking, devastating stories. And then I'd see the story continue. And so for some reason, these kiddos, they actually left San Angelo altogether. And we were hopeful that it was going to be forever, and that they were going to have this happily ever after like we all dream of for our kiddos. And it didn't work out 5 months later. So they were a month short of permanency. And the whole 5 months, I couldn't stop thinking about whether or not they were okay, because they were so far from us. And San Angelo had just wrapped their arms around these kiddos, and I just really felt like they belonged here. And I mourned with the foster parents, I mourned with my agency, I mourned with the people that babysat them, and we were finally getting to a place where we had accepted that, and these kiddos needed a home again. Mm-hmm. And so the reason I'm here is because we had so many families step up and provide what these kids needed, and it allowed me the opportunity to realize, we all just love them, and that's really, what they needed. They wanted to be here, and I had another job opportunity come up that I couldn't say no to, and everything just kept falling into place. And so every excuse that I would think, I shouldn't take these kids, it's not okay, I'm a single parent, every excuse would go away because things would click into place miraculously, and so all the excuses disappeared and they became my kids.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, yeah, that deserves a round of applause. Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, that is fabulous. So you seeing both sides of this, being a caseworker and now a mom, what advice would you give maybe to anyone wanting to get involved that, would really help these kids thrive?
I think community is exactly what everybody needs. You know, we talk a lot about that, but seeing Open Homes Initiative, seeing my own experience, the only reason our experience was so successful is because we had 20 plus people who would randomly show up or step up and ask what we needed or show up with a meal. Or just encourage me or encourage the kids and mediate between us when things were hard. And so I just think that community piece is so important. And when I see placements that have failed, it's because they felt lonely and they felt alone in this very difficult journey, or the kids felt alone, and so it caused them to act out. And so the connectedness in the community has really made a difference. And really keeping sibling groups together, I've been able to see these boys thrive. Everybody thinks I'm crazy, including myself, for taking 4 kids all at once. But they needed to be together. They needed each other, and it's been amazing just to see how they push each other to be better human beings. So I just really love them, and I think the fact that they're together is why we were able to successfully complete their adoption. So.
Oh my goodness. Wow. That is amazing. Well, speaking of amazing human beings, we got Pastor Don over here. So you're a pastor, you're a father, you know, have that leadership role. What led you to want to get involved with the foster care system?
My wife. Yeah. We had some medical issues and couldn't have children, and went to a fertility doctor and had our first child, and it worked really well. So we had 3 children in 3 years and 3 days. All the women are kind of ooh. So we were very young and decided we couldn't have any more children, or shouldn't have any more children. And so as fast as they came, they left. And so we were empty nest for 2 or 3 years, and had one of my church members, family moved off. She went one day to Midland High School, and she said, "Can I come back to Sonora and go my senior year?" And so that really kind of started making us think we could do this. We had a 4-bedroom home, you know, and no kids. And I was doing a sermon series through the book of James, and in chapter 1, verse 27, talks about that true religion, undefiled, is to care for widows and orphans. And during that sermon, I just talked about the number of kids in the state of Texas who were eligible for adoption, and how the church has abdicated its responsibility to the government. And you know, as a preacher, you just kind of do your thing. But afterwards, my wife really felt conviction that we should be part of the answer. And there was 4 other families in our church that also did that. So we went through, they called it pride training back then with CPS before the local agencies took over. And out of that, there was something like 12 children that ended up being adopted in homes as well. So we've had 31 foster kids and adopted 2 of them over the last 16 years. Some very beautiful stories, some very sad stories. And yet, you know, each one of them have had an effect on my family. I have a granddaughter that's been all her life has only known us as grandparents who have foster kids, and she goes to school with one of Ivonne's kids. And she knew that before they even became Ivonne's kids, that because of her sensitivity toward the foster kids in our home, she saw him and acknowledged him and talked to him, where she wouldn't have done that before. And so I think that has had a real effect. My daughter, my oldest daughter, has adopted 3 children as well. So I've got 3 of my 6 grandchildren are adopted as well. So that kind of catalyst of the timing of God, and then just of the voice of God speaking to my wife that we can do this. And I'll be honest with you, I've been a pastor all of my adult life, but I honestly think I do more for the kingdom of God by holding one of his children in my arms than I do preaching the gospel some Sundays. So that has made a big difference in my life, to say that I've been adopted in Ephesians 1, that I belong to him when I really didn't belong to him, but he chose to love me.
Oh my goodness. That's beautiful. So, you know, you mentioned, you know, the good times, the hard times. What has that done, again, you know, for your heart? Like, what has that spoken to you?
The good part is seeing the effect of one person doing something right. You know, I'm a 1-talent guy, not a 5-talent, not a 10-talent. I'm just a 1-talent guy. I just love people.
Yeah.
And it's opened up other people I think our churches, church in Sonora and church in Sterling City, where people were very hesitant at first, but I told them that was a condition of me coming, is I will foster. And they said yes, would open our arms and our hearts to them. And the first time some left, it was really hard on my friends, my church family, and our biological family as well. And we've kind of had a discussion that what we think we should be doing is, people say all the time, I couldn't do that. I just want to keep them forever. Or it'd break my heart. And it's like, well, it breaks our heart. Every time our hearts are broken. We placed our last foster child in our home on Friday. So we didn't have a baby in our arms this weekend. And for the first time in 16 years, we didn't have a baby to get to sleep. And so what we try to say is, it's intentional suffering. We suffer so they don't have to. We become the body of Christ who takes the suffering of others on us. So when people say, I couldn't do it because it hurts, well, it should hurt. If you're doing it right, it should hurt. Love those babies, love those children, love those kids who are hard to love, because that's what Christ would do. And the watching world is not really impressed with my sermons. But they are impressed when they see us, holding multiracial children over the years. And it's like, how does this your baby? And it's like, we chose them, we chose them. So I think that for me, it has made me probably simplify my Christian faith. And then it becomes something that people see that I try to practice what I preach. And so it helps other people to give Christianity a second look, a second thought, that if we would love children the way Christ loved children, that maybe there's something to this Jesus.
Pastor Don is preaching today, isn't he? I love that, guys. Okay, so this is kind of the final question. It's going to be a really tough one. If you could tell everyone here one thing that you just want them to walk away with, you want them to take away from this evening, what would that be? Jump in, whoever's ready. I told you it was a tough one. You want to go?
I think it's important for you to look around. These are the people that are going to be supportive of you. These are the people that if you have ever thought about being a foster parent or an adoptive parent, or even just part of the community, look around. Respite. We need respite. But yes, look around this room, and these are your number one people. This is your village, and don't take that for granted. Really reach out and lean on each other, because throughout all the hurt and all the devastation, there's also love and joy and connectedness, and it's worth it. So.
Good word.
I would say that if you're thinking about getting into fostering of any kind, to remember that, it may be hard, but it's also hard to be a foster kid. And so, like Pastor Don here said, if you really embrace those children, and all of those children, the babies, the middle schoolers, the high schoolers, the ones who are, the most respectful, and the ones who are going to push your buttons and push your boundaries, just really embrace all of them, because as a foster kid, I can tell you that means so much, and that's going to have a really big impact on their lives, no matter if you are there for them for a few days or you adopt them. Just really loving and supporting those kids is going to be the most important thing to do.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. I mentioned respite care as an alternative where people aren't sure. It takes almost the same amount of work to get ready to be a respite worker as it does a foster parent. But if in that process you realize, hey, I can do this, it's a good way to step your toe into the pool and say, let me try. There's a lot of foster parents who quit fostering because they just get burned out. They just don't have time. We had a phone call, can we do respite for 2 children? And since we only had one baby at the time, we said, sure. It was because they had planned a cruise for 2 years for their anniversary. And then at the last moment, the people who were going to do respite got COVID. And so they were going to bring them all the way from Tyler, Texas to West Texas for us to watch them. And finally, they just said, it's just too hard. There was no respite in that area besides that one family to do the week long that they needed. And it broke my heart that family had to cancel an anniversary cruise that I know they looked forward to it and that they couldn't do it. And so I just simply say, you can do something. You can't do everything, but you can do something. And I agree with what you said, Kirsten, that I don't know when we decided that we don't want to do hard things. It's hard, but it's worthwhile. I've never said, I wish we hadn't done that. There's never been a time. I've got kids who are now teenagers who find me on Facebook and message me, do you remember me? It's like, how could I forget, and start telling stories, and they're so excited, that I had one little boy and his sister 3 years because the court system just kind of messed up over and over, and he just wanted to know if I remembered him, So I started telling Ricky stories, and he loved it. He called me and he cried on the phone, and it was just that touching that one life matters. It matters to God, and it will make a difference in your life. I pray that you would consider being a foster parent, and if you can't, not sure. Go ahead and go through the classes to become a respite provider, and you do two things. You love those children, you love those other people, and you never know what the Lord's going to ask you to do after you do that for a little while.
Definitely.
I would agree with that. Respite is something I think we're going to discuss a little more at church as well to try to create that for some of the families. I would also agree with you can't do everything, but you can do something. I didn't know what I was getting into when I started CASA, but I knew that I love kids. I recently took a teenager, and it was one of my first. I had several younger ones in various ages, but this one was an older one, and she got real mad at me one day because we had a very frank conversation on the phone, and we had lots of deep conversations, and she called me all the time. But when I answered and she called back the second day, she said, "You answered." And I said, "Yeah, I answered." And she goes, "You're not mad?" And I said, "No, I'm not mad. We can move on. What's wrong?" And she goes, "Well, but I hung up on you." And I said, That's okay. I've been hung up on before, and it probably won't be the last time anybody ever hung up on me either. But she spent several minutes talking about how she did not think someone would pick up the phone because she got upset and she hung up, and I said, it's okay. Everybody gets mad. That you are entitled to your feelings, and it's okay. And she's like, "Thank you for answering the phone." And so I would like to share that you don't know the impact you're going to have or what one little moment might be that you have with these kids. And so if you feel led to foster, please, we need the homes, and these children need you desperately. But they also need teachers and advocates and friends and adoptive family, community family when I say that, from church, from other children's families, and they deserve the same opportunities that any other child has. So if you feel led to foster, please. Again, I think it's a fantastic thing, but it's also very worthwhile to share your life with these kids and be there for them in any capacity that you can. I still keep in touch with my original very first CASA case family, and they reach out to me. I save all the pictures they color, and I have a notebook with all the things, and so it means a lot to me, but I know it means a lot to them too. And sometimes just having that one person that the parent can call, the placement can call, the kids can call, just to have that connection, family community connection is so vitally important. And so we just ask that you would support in any way that you can, because it does mean something. You may feel like you're not doing a lot, but your little bit is a lot to somebody.
Wow. Well, thank you all so much for being here with us. And guys, you can't do everything, but you can do something. So let's share how grateful we are for them for doing something.